Hi, assalamu alaikum. I'm Saadia Ali, a bachelor's degree graduate from Mount Kenya University in Education Science, and also a self-published author and a peer counselor. Here we are today discussing about what remained from our topic last week, that about how education influences behavior change, or how education affects behavior change. We've seen how education changed, how education impacts our behaviors by giving us necessary knowledge and creating awareness in us, and also impacting or having influence on our attitudes and beliefs, which will later on change our behaviors. Today our focus will be self-education. The education that the learning that a person goes and seeks by themselves, a person seeking a learning experience, taking initiatives to learn and change their behaviors as a result. That is self-education. Taking initiatives to learn and get new learning can happen in multiple ways, basically. For example, it can happen through reading books. It can happen through listening to podcasts. It can happen through going to workshops, registering for seminars. It can happen by having mentors that you sit down with and they give you information. Basically, that is self-education, is going out of your way, teaching yourself, taking courses, trainings, reading books that will impact your life and change your behaviors more so. So how does self-awareness do behavior change? How will self-education, how will self-education result in change of your behaviors? The first thing that we need to learn is people feel so much motivated to change their behaviors when they have autonomy. Autonomy is they have a high upper hand, if I explain in a layman's words. When they have autonomy over their learning experiences, they can control when and what to learn. That is, when people feel that sense of autonomy, they actually have high motivation to change their behaviors, and whatever they're going to learn will impact in their behavior change. For example, let's take a quick example on financial literacy. In our school system, financial literacy is not part of the curriculum. So someone graduates from school, up to university level, gets a job, but they have zero financial literacy in their minds. They have no knowledge about how to keep their finances, how to make savings, how to do investments. Those are that's one of the main things that people do for workshops, trainings. They go and learn a course. And when they get the new information about financial literacy, it affects their beliefs and attitudes about financial literacy. And then they are going to now have behaviors, for example, saving behaviors, which will become habits, and later on they're going to do great things with their savings. So what happens is, whenever a person seeks knowledge by themselves, whenever they take the initiative, they have that self-determination, they feel motivated to change their behaviors. That is how self-education affects behavior change. It gives us more motivation. It gives us it empowers us with that self-determination. The next thing that self-education does is basically self-reflection and learning. Whenever we are doing something out of our own, we have the autonomy, we are controlling our learning experiences, we have power over what to learn and when to learn. What happens is we will constantly reflect on what we have learned. We will constantly ask ourselves if we have integrated it in our lives. So if someone learns, for example, that financial literacy, they are going to have the constant self-reflection that am I having any impact in my behaviors? Is there any? So that constant self-reflection will lead to what we call the anticipated or the required or the acquired behavior. So self-education does two things. The first one is it gives us that motivation that actually we can change our behaviors, and the second one is it will make us construct our own understanding and our own attitudes and our own beliefs through self-reflection and growth. Whenever we do self-reflection, we are propelling our growth, forward growth. Basically, self-education, as I said, is multifaceted. Let's have an example or a quick look at societies which have low levels of self-education. People who just pursue the normal school versus the people who live in areas where people learn things on their own. If you like, you can compare the developed countries and the countries that we live in, where in developed countries self-education is highly appreciated, and it is actually almost at the same level as the formal education. So self-education can be in many ways. Let's compare those societies, their environment, their health lifestyle, their healthy habits. Let's compare their concept of time, concept of income, concept of money. How do they see all these things? If you compare to societies which have high rates of self-education to societies which have low rates of self-education, and basically maybe zero education to some even, you will see the environments are more clean in areas where people are more learned, more educated. When it comes to healthy habits, I mean healthy habits from having activities, hobbies, from physical activities to eating activities, all the habits that people have usually is related to their educational level. And yes, you can see someone earning money and then they go for gambling. What happens mostly in ghetto areas, you see, because these people have low levels of self-education. Their self-education, perhaps maybe in the whole setup there's no library, but you may see having a lot of hospitals, a lot of pharmacies actually, but there's no libraries to read books. There are no places where people meet for to empower themselves. There are no seminars, maybe workshops. They're very rare. So such societies, you may see even their normal health may be threatened because they are not trying to seek more education. They're not trying to educate themselves what they have not been taught in schools. They are not actually, some of them have never gone to school. So it's a disaster. Having no education, not seeking self-education, what do you expect of behaviors? Which means the behaviors will be just constant. That will lead us to now lack of education and the impact it will have on behaviors. As we said, that education is an important tool. The lack of it, you can imagine, the person will have perhaps the worst, I don't know what to say, but they can have the worst life experiences without education. I often ask myself, if I was not taken to school, if I did not read books, if I did not listen to podcasts, if I did not have mentors, who will I be today? Try to ask yourself, if you were the way you were born and you've just seen what people do and you followed, how will you be today? Today, I think what makes everyone a different person is the level of education they have, the amount of knowledge they have gained, and the amount of initiatives, the efforts they have taken, the amount of efforts they have taken, initiatives that actually educated them. If we break down I'll talk about two major risks of having self-education, of lacking self-education and also formal education. Basically, lack of education. I'll talk about two major behaviors. One of them is indulging in risky behaviors, and the other one is resistant to change. So lack of education will make us indulge in risky behaviors. People learn, according to the social learning theory, people learn by observing. So as a young child or as a teenager, what you see is what you do. Basically, you can imagine all the things that we have learned through observing. And then now here comes a fact that if someone is not taken to school, if there's no education that is existing in that area, if they are not exposed to any knowledge besides what they see, they're going to do what their elders are doing. And perhaps their elders did not go to schools and did not learn anything, and they did not have any modern education. So it will lead to indulging in risky behaviors. This teenager, young boy, will see the 20-year-old who is engaged in risky behaviors like gambling, drug abuse, and all those things. Then, because they have not been told any better, because they were not given any new information, because nothing changed their attitudes and beliefs towards that, they're going to take the same behavior. That is what happens predominantly in areas where people of low social income live. The rampant early pregnancies, the school dropouts, you know, drug abuse and drug misuse, and all those things that we don't like about our society. Even the aspect of divorce rates, the aspects of getting into marriages, they're influenced by what people see. If someone is not briefed about anything about marriage, there was no pre-marriage counseling, there was no, within the marriage, there was no proper consultations, because they did not have all these information, they end up having high divorce rates. So we ask ourselves as Muslims, why are we having high divorce rates? The answer is that we are indulging in risky behaviors from day one. People are just getting married because they see others getting married, for example. In that essence, one person taking to themselves into the trap of marriage, yet they don't have all necessary information about marriage, roles and responsibilities. What should a Muslim do? It will lead to high divorce rate. That is a quick example. And the bad thing about, the worst thing, let me say even not just bad, the worst thing about indulging in risky behaviors is you will think everyone else is doing this. People, because they think everyone else is living their life like that. So people will be like having, they are into this behavior and they are actually doing more of it because they tend to believe, they tend to think that everyone else is like them. Just have a look at everything around you and the kind of society you live in and the kind of behaviors that are prevalent, and relate them to the educational levels people have. It is very clear, and even if we don't have the statistics, it is evident in our eyes that without education, risky behaviors will be higher. The other one is resistance to change. You have often seen people who are educated and people who are ignorant who actually holds onto their beliefs like it is the rope that prevents them from dying. Like literally, these people will be holding to their beliefs and they be resistant to the change that they may need because they lack education. You find someone gambling, they have not gone to school, they're very ignorant, and then you try to tell them how gambling is addictive, how gambling is making them lose all the money, how gambling, but this person will not even listen to you. They'll not even want, they can't entertain anything that may make them change their behavior. You see a person chewing mirror, the same happens. Skin bleaching, I can really use this as an example. It's prevalent among the societies nowadays that people bleach their skins, but where did this come from? And then you tell someone, please stop bleaching. You know, now that you have already bleached, just stop bleaching at this point. And then the person now becomes very resistant. They're going to be having banters. They will be so angry. They'll be throwing things at you that you are telling them to change something that they are so much used to and they think is good for them. It's not that these girls or the women who bleach their skins, it's not that they lack information. No, they have the knowledge aspect. They are very aware that it causes skin cancer. They are very aware. Smokers at this age that we are now, smokers in this era know that it causes lung cancer, but still people smoke. Skin bleaching, people know that it causes skin cancer, but they still do. So knowledge aspect is there, but now what is preventing them from changing is the resistance they have towards, which means that their education is not a holistic education. It is just the awareness that they got, the most crucial parts of knowledge and critical thinking and all those things, they lack it. And more so, they have attitudes and beliefs that this thing is in one way or another beneficial to them. The person who is smoking and taking drugs, they really want that dopamine rise or the highness that they feel. This person who is bleaching knows and cares more about people's eyes. They think or they believe, that's what is in their minds, that when someone looks at you and you look, your skin is more appealing to them, and etc., etc. All these things exist, and it's realities that we are living in. So how can we make sure that we get the necessary education to avoid this resistance to behavior change, and also to avoid the resistance we have towards behavior change? The only remedy that we may need is to reflect upon the behaviors that we have. What brought us here won't take us there. Tell yourself what brought you here won't take you there. If it is lack of education, if it's lack of awareness, if it is attitudes and beliefs that you have had, please, it's time to reconsider. Sit down back as we get to the start of the new year. Resolve this 2025, my education level is this, my behaviors are these. How can I better my education? Now when you better your education, you get new information, which stands for knowledge, and you get awareness. And then that impacts your attitudes and beliefs, which most importantly will prevent you being resistant to change. Another widespread factor, let me conclude with this one. Another widespread aspect of when I'm talking about resistance to change is about social media. We've come to believe that social media is part of our daily lives, you know, and people are just, one person sees, the way I was saying that we learn by imitation, we learn by observation, I mean. So someone sees another person making money out of social media, but they don't ask themselves, is this money legit? Is this money going to be lasting? What efforts do you need to make this money? All those aspects of critical thinking are not there due to lack of proper knowledge. So what happens? They just follow the footsteps of the person, which leads to often frustration. And then when you tell them that there's a way to make money in social media, but there's also other ways to make money, or there's other uses for social media, like learning. A lot of us learn from social media. The widespread internet right now is the biggest teacher you have, but someone will still be locked in their mindset, very resistant to change, and to believe that they can learn through social media as much as they can make money from it. It is, it's really painful, but I would like to leave us with a reflection that how much resistant are you to change equals to how much are you attached to your beliefs, attitudes. And the beliefs and attitudes you have will go back to the education that you have. Whatever you have, whatever you believe about education, go back to yourself and try to ask yourself, is this the real education that I have? Or I need to do some things, fix some things here and there, adopt new learning experiences, get into self-education so that I can become better in my behaviors. For the young people, some of the deadly behaviors that we really need to work on using this information that I'm spreading here is a use of social media. Social media is not used for entertainment only, it's not used for money making, and which is not quite legit. Social media and internet at large is the hub of learning. Embrace learning, get new information, and the new information you are getting, let it not be misinformation. There's widespread of misinformation also. Misinformation is wrong information. So as much as you are using your social media for entertainment, let it not be the source of suffering in your life. The behaviors that you have led you where you are, whether you are a successful person in your life or you need some other few things to adjust and become that successful person you want to be. Without the changing behaviors, you cannot change the situation of your life. And how do you change your behaviors? Get new information, useful information, proper knowledge, assess it, take whatever you're going to take into your attitudes and beliefs. When dissonance happens, your beliefs and your attitudes are not matching to your actions, time to change your actions and you respond better. Remind yourself always that without education, without proper knowledge, the consequences of it are dire. You will find yourself in indulging risky behaviors, and most importantly, you will find yourself being resistant to any change, and more so the change of mindset. Till we meet again, I wish you well, and I leave you with salams and peace, inshallah.